This report about Bill Belichick, it was reportedly blindsided by the decision by the Atlanta Falcons to not hire him as head coach. He has also said that he is interested in coaching one of these three NFC East teams next year: the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants. I had said, and you guys know this, that in New England it was time. Obviously the offense had been decrepit of offensive talent. Mac Jones was not working. It just really felt like post Brady, they were trying to fit in a culture that just was not there anymore. And I think Bill Belichick is the greatest defensive head coach of all time. But I think as the NFL has leaned more to an offensive sport with, quarterbacks and wide receivers taking precedent, and Bill can't draft either one of them besides Tom Brady landing in his lap. And obviously, the 1 year they had Randy Moss. Besides that, New England hasn't had a decent wide receiver in 15 years. Um, I think that Bill, as a drafter, we know how disastrous his drafts have been in New England. I think he needed to go to a place that was ready to win. Atlanta, I thought needed more pieces, but in that weak division where we don't know how consistent Tampa is year to year. Carolina, obviously, rebuild. I think the Saints need to go in full rebuild mode. That could be a place where Belichick could have gone if he got the quarterback right and just have been the coach that I think Belichick could win. And I think that's one of the things Bill needs to look at. Bill needs to have an actual general manager. I think that Bill Belichick, again, a great defensive strategy guy. I think he needs to go to a place where the offense is already set, which like Philadelphia, many people think would have been a perfect place. And on paper, it does look like it. But that market in Philadelphia is tough. They are a more offensive minded culture. Jeffrey Lurie is an offensive minded culture. I think it's why they kept Nick Sirianni around for one more year and surrounded him with guys like Kellen Moore, like Vic Fangio. You bring in Saquon Barkley. I think you're going to run the ball with it more. You add those offensive pieces. Obviously, the defense side of the ball is what needs work. But I think Bill Belichick and Howie Roseman, they have very different draft strategy styles. I know Bill does have a lot of respect for Howie Roseman and his ability to select talent, but that would be a very interesting mess there that I don't know how it would work in the city of brotherly love. Obviously, I think Dallas would be a great fit for Bill if Jerry Jones would give up control, though that's not going to happen. So I think the most realistic place for Bill out of the jobs that he wants going into next year would be the Giants job. And depending on what they do with Daniel Jones, they draft a quarterback this year or not. You could have a situation where the Giants go out, they draft Malik Neighbors, they draft Roma Dunze, a wide receiver. If one of those hit, they have some defensive talent, obviously. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns on the defensive line is very good. Their help would be in the secondary, which is really Bill Belichick's expertise, is getting the most out of those young guys in the secondary. And then, can you find yourself a quarterback, whether it's available on the free agent market or again, if they do draft one, is that guy going to be good enough that if Bill Belichick hired the right OC, which we saw he had with Josh McDaniels, and then after he left, it was a disaster with Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia. Um, I think that in this new day and age where technology is permanent and we're always adapting, and the NFL has adapted, to analytics, and MLB has adapted to analytics, and the NBA has adapted to analytics. These old school mind defensive coaches win the game 6-3 and run the football is becoming outdated. And that's what I question with Bill is what has changed from Bill, who reportedly is working on a deal with Peyton Manning and the Omaha production. Maybe he'll be a part of the Manning cast. What has changed with Bill, who I think, by the way, along with Nick Saban, will be great on TV? And as I said, a credit to Nick. Nick went out and they pretty much said, we can't stop anybody. I'm going to get the best offense in college football. And then when Nick said, okay, well, we can't really do that anymore. I'm going to move aside and move on from Alabama. I think Bill is more stubborn than Nick. I think Bill believes it's his way or the highway. I think Bill still wants to prove that he could win without Tom Brady. And again, maybe in the 90s you could, but as we clearly saw in the last 10 years of the dynasty in New England, maybe the mid 2000s was mostly Bill. the latter half, the 2010s on, was pretty much all Tom Brady. Eke at that go together. And while they did make the playoffs one year with Mac Jones, they couldn't stop Josh Allen in a blizzard in Buffalo. And that was pretty much the end of Bill Belichick's tenure as we know it. I mean, the last few years, they had Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones at quarterback. Will it be the case with the Giants who need receivers? They have a good coach in Brian Dable. I would not give up Brian Dable. By the way, I think Nick Sirianni is a very good head coach. I think Mike McCarthy is a very good head coach in Dallas. The question is, we know Nick Sirianni can get to a Super Bowl with the Eagles. McCarthy got to a Super Bowl a decade ago with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Maybe it was out of a happy stance as they went on that wild card magical run. If Jerry Jones were to give up creative control, depending on what Dallas does with Dak, CD, Michael Parsons, that roster is ready to win. They just need a leader. I think Nick Sirianni is the right leader in Philly. I don't know about Mike McCarthy in Dallas. And so, is it possible that Jerry Jones sells his soul to get Belichick and tries to get one more ring for the Dallas Cowboys to my dismay? Absolutely. But out of those three jobs, I don't think anyone is realistic right now for Belichick unless something falls apart in Philly or Dallas. And I don't think the Giants would have been the right fit. I thought Washington would have been a better fit. I thought Atlanta would have been a better fit last year. So this is an interesting development. I think that documentary that came out about the Patriots dynasty on Apple TV painted Belichick in a bad light. Belichick is trying to get back to the spotlight. But if Bill Belichick does not change his rigid ways, this is what happens when old school meets new school. And this is how most dynasties fall in sports, and this is how most legends fall in sports. We'll see if Bill Belichick adapts. Like that clip from the Brand Sports Podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand Sports Podcast right here on YouTube.